This story isn't about a celebrity feud. It's about how a private online interaction escalated into a legal filing, and why two very different versions of the same events are now officially on record. According to publicly available court documents, a temporary restraining order was filed involving Ronnie Radke, the frontman of Falling in Reverse, Brittany Furlan, a social media personality, and Tommy Lee, the longtime Mötley Crüe drummer. What makes this situation unusual isn't just who's involved. It's how quickly a social media misunderstanding turned into a formal legal dispute, with both sides claiming they are the real victim. This isn't a case built on anonymous rumors or online speculation. What exists publicly are legal filings, attorney statements, and digital records that are now being interpreted in very different ways. According to multiple reputable outlets, Radke filed a temporary restraining order against Furlan. In the filing, Radke alleges that Furlan repeatedly contacted him through social media and that her behavior escalated after he stopped responding. According to the petition, Radke claims that the situation went beyond online messages. He alleges that Furlan drove to his residence and remained outside, and that she followed him to a doctor's appointment and waited nearby, observing him without direct contact. These claims are contained within a legal filing. They have not been adjudicated or verified by a court, and they represent Radke's account of events rather than a legal conclusion. Shortly after the restraining order request became public, Furlan's legal team issued a statement presenting a sharply different version of the situation. Her attorney stated that she is not the aggressor, but rather the victim of harassment. The statement described the restraining order request as frivolous and indicated that legal action would be taken to defend her against what her team characterized as ongoing harassment and threats. At this stage, no court has issued a final determination. What exists publicly are two opposing narratives, both asserting harassment and both relying heavily on interpretations of online communication, intent, and context. To understand how this escalated, it's necessary to rewind several months. In May of 2025, Brittany Furlan publicly stated that she had been catfished on social media by someone she believed was impersonating Ronnie Radke. She emphasized that the messages occurred while she was still married to Tommy Lee and that she informed her husband about the situation. At the time, the claim attracted significant attention, but it was framed primarily as a case of impersonation rather than direct contact. Radke denied being behind the messages and stated that an impersonator was responsible. He later told TMZ that multiple women had been tricked and duped by someone pretending to be him, and that authorities were involved. Radke publicly stated that he was cooperating with efforts to identify the individual responsible. For a period, the situation appeared to fade from public discussion, with no further legal action announced. But it did not disappear entirely. The issue resurfaced after Furlan revisited the situation publicly on social media, suggesting that she now believed Radke himself was responsible for the messages. That shift in interpretation significantly changed the tone of the situation and reignited public discussion. Radke responded publicly, strongly denying the claims and characterizing the situation as harassment. He stated that legal authorities were being contacted and that he intended to formally document his side of events. Shortly after those exchanges, the restraining order filing appeared, moving the dispute from public argument into formal legal territory. One of the most misunderstood aspects of cases like this is what a temporary restraining order actually represents. It is not a verdict. It does not establish guilt. It does not confirm wrongdoing. Instead, it is a legal mechanism designed to pause a situation while claims are reviewed and evidence is assessed. Courts typically look for patterns rather than isolated incidents. This can include frequency of contact, escalation over time, whether communication continued after requests to stop, proximity to the individual involved, and whether the behavior caused reasonable distress. In cases centered around digital interaction, context often matters as much as the messages themselves. Online harassment claims in particular rely on patterns of behavior rather than single messages, and any evidence of pursuit or interference with daily life. This is why the unresolved question of identity remains central to this dispute. If an impersonator was truly responsible for the original messages, the situation becomes a case of third-party manipulation. If not, the implications change significantly, both legally and reputationally. According to Radke, he has consistently maintained that he was not behind the messages and that impersonation was involved. Cases like this are not uncommon for public figures, where fake accounts use partial verification, personal details, and tailored language to appear authentic. At the same time, Furlan's legal response suggests she views herself as the target of harassment and reputational harm, resulting from how the situation has unfolded publicly. Both positions now exist within the legal system, where interpretation, documentation, and timelines matter more than online opinion. Adding another layer is the continued presence of Tommy Lee in the story. Despite reports earlier in 2025 suggesting that Lee and Furlan had separated, Leah later denied those claims publicly, stating they were not divorced or separated. The couple has continued to appear together publicly, including during New Year's celebrations. Furlan also stated on her podcast in mid-2025 that the situation had unexpectedly strengthened their marriage. She described a period of isolation and emotional strain during that time, framing the experience as difficult but clarifying for their relationship. This demonstrates that even high-profile conflicts can evolve into personal growth or reflection within relationships. What's unfolding here goes beyond internet drama. It reflects how quickly online interactions can cross into real-world consequences, especially when boundaries, identity, and intent are disputed in public view. At this point, there are no criminal charges, no final rulings, and no verified determination of wrongdoing. What exists is a dispute over behavior and interpretation, now formalized through legal filings. The next steps will likely happen quietly. Evidence will be reviewed, timelines examined, arguments made behind closed doors. Many outcomes may never become public, but the broader takeaway is already clear. Online interactions carry real-world consequences. Digital misunderstandings can escalate rapidly. Once a situation enters the legal system, there is no rewind button. This case isn't about assigning blame. It's about understanding how fame, online identity, and personal boundaries collide in a world where private communication rarely stays private. Even subtle differences in perception, the interpretation of tone, the timing of responses, the assumption of intent, can have significant real-world effects when those involved are in the public eye. Every post, comment, or direct message can be scrutinized by fans, media, and legal representatives. This story also highlights how public figures balance transparency with privacy. Radke and Furlan have both made statements to the press, yet both claim victimhood. It illustrates a complex dynamic in which reputation, career, and personal safety all intersect. While the story is still unfolding, it offers a reminder that when the internet moves fast, the consequences tend to last much longer. Legal measures like restraining orders are designed to provide a temporary solution, but they cannot instantly repair public perception or reputational effects. For viewers, this story emphasizes the importance of understanding digital responsibility. Even unintentional miscommunication online can trigger serious outcomes. It also demonstrates that public perception often differs significantly from the facts presented in legal filings. In the context of celebrity culture, the line between public and private life is even thinner. Every post, every response, every allegation is subject to scrutiny. How social media is interpreted can dramatically influence legal, professional, and personal consequences. The larger lesson may not be about who is right or wrong. Instead, it may be about how quickly interactions can escalate and the mechanisms that exist to manage disputes before they escalate further. This case, in particular, shows the complexity of digital interactions in a modern, interconnected society. It also demonstrates how formal legal steps, like restraining orders, function as both protective and investigative tools. At its core, the situation is a reminder that digital identity, social media communication, and personal boundaries must be handled carefully. Regardless of fame, public figures are often caught between defending themselves, protecting their privacy, and navigating the interpretations of millions of viewers. This story leaves viewers with a broader understanding of online disputes, the legal processes that can follow, and the impact of social media on real-world relationships. It also sets the stage for the next story: how digital impersonation, public perception, and legal accountability intersect in ways that affect not just celebrities, but anyone who navigates online communication and privacy.